Hey there, besties. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're continuing our recap of the manhwa, Depths of Malice. If you're new to this series, check the description below for links to previous episodes. Lastly, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. I know it may not look like it on the surface, but I cherish Rosalie dearly, Felicia Carter said, holding her teacup. Rita watched her, not saying a word. 10 years ago, Felicia Carter sat in a garden after her marriage to Marquis Amber. She observed someone approaching and saw Rosalie holding a bouquet of hand-picked roses, fidgeting nervously. She noticed the bruises on Rosalie's hands. "Go away," Felicia told her, picking up her teacup. "I detest children," she added. Rosalie flinched, tears building in her eyes as she sniffed gently. "My apologies," she said softly, stuttering. She turned and stepped away from her stepmother slowly, a rose falling from her hand, unnoticed. Felicia's eyes fixed on the fallen rose. "Humph, what a toady little pest," she thought angrily. Rosalie soon approached her father, Marquis Amber. "What is the matter, Rosalie?" he asked, leaning down to rub her head gently. She blushed as she looked at him, her eyes still holding teardrops. Felicia gritted her teeth in spite as she watched them from her chair. How in the world did I, the great Felicia Carter, end up marrying such a dull man with a silly child? She thought, clenching her fists and gripping the teacup tightly. It's infuriating, she thought. In the evening, Felicia was still sitting down, enjoying the quiet environment with her eyes closed as though she was sleeping. "What, do you like it?" Rosalie whispered, stuttering as she approached, but was shushed quietly by her father. They didn't know that Felicia could hear them, her ears twitching to their noise. Are they taking the chance to badmouth me while I'm asleep? Just try. I'll destroy you, she thought, still keeping her eyes closed. Marquis Amber and Rosalie stared at Felicia from a short distance. "Rose, why do you stare at your stepmother like that?" Marquis Amber asked his daughter. "I love her so much. I wish to embrace her just once. But I was afraid that if I did, she would wake. So, I'm embracing her with my eyes," Rosalie said warmly, fixing her gaze on the ground. "My little Rose, how kind-hearted you are," he said, patting her head gently and holding some sheets. Marquis Amber covered Felicia with the sheet he had. "Your stepmother needs time. For now, all we can do is wish her sweet dreams. Let's go," he told Rosalie, cheering her up. "Okay," Rosalie said with a happy face. They set out on their way, walking gently and leaving Felicia all by herself. Midway, Rosalie turned, catching a glimpse of Felicia. Letting go of her dad's hand, she returned softly to Felicia. Rosalie reached out her hand, holding Felicia's arm and squeezing lightly. "Sweet dreams, mother," Rosalie said cheerfully. She let go and walked away with her father, leaving Felicia Carter all to herself. What a strange pair, Felicia thought, opening her eyes and watching them leave. She saw the rose on the floor. Fixing her gaze on it, she didn't say a word. Getting up from her chair, Felicia bent down and picked up the rose. "I may not be able to love Rose like my own, but I love her as if she were a much younger sister. That is why I worry for her," Felicia Carter said after reminiscing about her first encounter with Rosalie. "The Albahart name is indeed great and has scarcely a flaw. It is a great comfort to know my daughter has befriended the daughter of such a noble family," she said, holding her teacup close to her mouth. "Your family is rich, so you want nothing from Rosalie, yes? Is that what she means? Just how many times has Rosalie been scammed?" Rita thought, sipping her tea but fixing her gaze on Felicia. "I fear Rosalie's fiancé's failure to attend greatly upsets her," Rita said, her concern evident. "May I ask what kind of man he is?" Rita asked Felicia, dropping her teacup. "Is he good to Rose?" Felicia twitched a bit. In the world, there are always idiots who are incapable of recognizing the good fortune they have been blessed with, she said. "I agree, Rosalie is far too good for such fools," Rita said with a smile. "What are you suggesting?" Felicia Carter asked Rita, fixing her gaze, not smiling. "Should you not remove a pesky fly from your precious Rose?" Rita told her. "Hardly a month has passed since you've befriended that child. I doubt this comes from a place of simple friendship," Felicia said. I abhor your younger brother, His Excellency, Marquis Proud Carter. That is why I exposed the violence of his right-hand man, Jean Lawrence. And I intend on destroying his new lackey, Nathan Hector, as well, she said, revealing her plans to Felicia. Why? I always thought Proud was on good terms with the Albaharts. Unless he is an idiot, I doubt he would have set his sights on your family, Felicia said, looking worried. Marquis Carter destroyed my dear friend, Rita said, clenching onto her cup. 10 years ago, she and her mother fell into great ruin. Do you perhaps recall Baron Wicker and his daughter, Miss Rita? Rita asked, stunning Felicia immediately. Felicia went quiet for a while. Rita of the Wicker family, Felicia said softly. A few days later, Rita returned to the Amber estate. She walked into the garden for a secret meeting with Felicia Carter. It seems to me that Rita Wicker died of consumption a few months ago. Am I right? Felicia asked as she sat down, sobbing. Yes, I had lost contact with her for 10 years. By chance, I reunited with her at the facility while participating in charity, only to find out that my secret friend I'd been pals with a decade ago was terminally ill, Rita said, tears dripping down her cheeks. It was just. She covered her eyes, sobbing. Even the great Felicia Carter would be hard-pressed to find 10-year-old letters, Rita thought as she peeked at her amidst her fake tears. She has no choice but to believe me, Rita said inwardly. I cannot imagine what a shock it must have been to lose your dear pen pal like that overnight. Rita had been disowned after she was accused of being illegitimate. She told me the mastermind behind the accusation was Marquis Proud Carter, Rita said, revealing this to Felicia. Baron Wicker, Felicia said softly. Do you have any information? Rita asked, begging despite her sniffing. Of course. The decisive factor that caused me to lose to Proud in our rivalry was none other than Baron Wicker, Felicia said immediately, puzzling Rita, who was shocked to her bones. Pardon? What do you mean? Rita questioned Felicia, unable to believe her ears. My brother and I were equal in every way, so our parents had us each perform a demonstration that would benefit the family, Felicia told Rita with a sigh, her facial expression turning sad. So mother and I were ruined as a demonstration to decide an inheritance rivalry? Rita thought with anger. While I recruited new trade partners for our family, that boy restored our household's power by destroying the family that had gained their independence from us. The family of Baron Wicker, Felicia said, revealing Baron Wicker's plot. Oh my lord, Rita exclaimed. That bastard. He ruined me and my mother over a rivalry, Rita thought, clenching her fist hard as she sank into a world of hate for Proud Carter. It's a pity about the young Miss Wicker. If she were still alive, I would have offered her some compensation to apologize for my awful brother, Felicia said, dropping her cup of coffee. Thank you for being so candid with me. I'm sure it isn't easy for you, she told Rita. Not at all. Thank you for understanding my childish feelings of resentment, Marquis, Rita replied calmly, no longer crying. Don't thank me yet. I left the Carter household years ago, and I have no intention of risking my present happiness, Felicia told her. I've given you a hand, but you'll have to take care of the rest yourself. I came to steal the fiancé. I'm already satisfied she hasn't objected, Rita thought, delighted. Of course, she said, smiling. However, I do expect this from you, Lady Verta. You have something. It reminds me of my old self, Felicia said, presenting a sealed envelope on the table. My brother is the head of the administration. Nathan Hector is merely his lackey. This is a letter recommending you as a temporary assistant for the administrative division. Use it to remove Nathan from Rose's life once and for all, she said, instructing Rita as she glanced through the document Felicia presented to her. Rita smiled, content with this news. Outside the Amber estate, Rita was met by Rosalie and her stepsister Lily. Ber? Rosalie called out, surprising Rita as she made her way to her carriage. Oh my Rose. Good afternoon, Rita said, greeting them both. You had tea time with mother? Lily asked her. You met with my mother? Why didn't she tell me? Rosalie asked, pondering over their secret meeting. She was very pleased that you had invited a friend over. She invited me to tea and asked me to be good friends with you, Rita told Rosalie, smiling. She said that? Truly? Rosalie asked, getting flushed as she smiled. You have a wonderful mother, Rita said with a smile. "Oh, John. You bought the box, yes?" Rita called out, turning to John. "Bring it here," she said. Both sisters glanced at each other, not understanding what was going on. Rosalie felt someone's presence. She turned to find John's face leaning closer to her with a dead look. Both sisters were startled as Rosalie clung to her sister with fear, trying to hide her face from John's gaze. "This is my coachman," Rita revealed as Rosalie opened her eye, taking a peek at John. "Pay him no mind. He always looks like this," Rita explained as John stood behind her holding a box. "My goodness. I thought he was a ghost," Rosalie thought, flushing as she was terrified. "I see," she stuttered, while Lily watched quietly but tensely. "Rose, do you like gifts?" Rita asked. "Pardon? Do you mean, you are giving this to me?" Rosalie asked, appearing shocked by the box Rita presented to her. "I had it made especially for you." "Open it," Rita said, insisting politely. "Thank you so much, Ver," Rosalie said with a smile, opening her gift. Inside were matching rosaries. "It's just an old superstition, but they say the man and woman who wear each half will share a long and happy love," Rita explained with a faint smile. "Oh, Ver," Rosalie exclaimed, clutching the box with tears of joy in her eyes. "By chance, does your fiancé have no inclinations towards jewelry?" "No, Nathan has no objections, and these rosaries are so beautiful. How could he ever say no?" Rosalie replied excitedly. "I had them specially made for your highness, so I hope you wear them often," Rita said, genuinely delighted. "Of course," Rosalie agreed, clutching her gift tightly. She rushed to hug Rita. "Thank you truly, Ver. I'm so happy we became friends," she said joyfully. Silly Rosalie, Rita thought inwardly. Those rosaries were made to ruin the connection between lovers. "Soon enough, I will steal your beloved fiancé away. Just you wait." A few days later, at the royal palace, Julie yawned as she walked. Julie sighed inwardly, lamenting her current role as a secretarial assistant in the military division, feeling far removed from her aspirations in the royal guard. As she walked gently, Julie overheard snippets of conversation from passing officers that caught her attention. "Did you see her?" said one man. "She's quite pretty," remarked another. Curious, Julie tuned in to the murmurs around her. "Something's a little odd today." "The administrative division, you said?" asked the first officer. "That's what I heard." "The entire place is in an uproar," confirmed the second officer. Julie furrowed her brow, perplexed by the sudden commotion. What in the world is going on at the administrative division? She wondered silently. Amidst the bustling crowd, Julie spotted a familiar face, Officer James and Officer Alex. Determined to satisfy her curiosity, she approached them. "Officer James, Officer Alex, pardon the interruption, but where are you headed?" Julie inquired, drawing one of the officers aside. "Oh, Miss Julia, heading to work? Good to see you," the officer greeted, catching Julie off guard. "We're on our way to the administrative division," he continued, which puzzled Julie. "Why? Did something happen?" she asked, only to be met with laughter from Officer Alex. "Perhaps," he winked mischievously. "A new assistant started today, apparently very pretty," he informed Julie. "Pardon?" Julie reacted in disbelief as they bid her farewell and left her standing there. "How absurd," Julie muttered with disgust. As she listened to other officers discussing the newcomer, Julie overheard them mention Werther, you know, the one who testified at court. Werther Alberhardt. Her shock was palpable as she processed this unexpected information. Meanwhile, in the administrative division, Rita sat at her desk, engrossed in reading documents. Nathan Hector of all days, she thought to herself with frustration, the damn bastard chose today to attend to matters outside the office. He's nowhere to be seen. What if he's already caught on and now he's messing with me? Rita's mind raced with concern about Nathan potentially disrupting her plans. In the administrative office, officers murmured among themselves upon seeing Rita. She sat quietly, attending to some work. "Look at how beautiful she is. She's as beautiful as an angel," one officer said, visibly blushing as he watched her keenly. "And her figure, unbelievable," another officer added, drooling. Am I some sort of circus attraction to them?" Rita thought, observing the onlookers with a straight face. Silence, please. Such ruckus during work hours is unacceptable. A lady's voice rang out, making the office instantly quiet. This is the administrative office of Osland, where we see to important affairs of the state, she continued, her tone stern. If you are an official who receives his wages from the royal family, I suggest you remember your posts, she said with a disdainful look, causing the officers to shrink back in fear. Let's go. If Officer Heather gets upset, it will only be trouble, one officer whispered to the other as they mumbled and moved away. So her name is Heather, Rita noted. She's got quite a loud voice, but her looks are so plain. Does she not care for appearances, or perhaps she has no money? Rita thought while glancing at her. The officers slowly made their way out of the office. Heather is why I'm usually too intimidated to come here, one of the officers muttered, which Heather overheard. She glared at Rita. Miss Werther, please? Heather said, calling for Rita. Rita got up from her seat and walked gently to Heather's table. You are here to work, yes? Heather asked, glaring at Rita. If so, why are you dressed like that? You look as if you are on your way to a garden party, she said rudely, referring to Rita's dress. What's wrong with the way I'm dressed? My uniform is no different from the other employees. It isn't my fault this body naturally looks beautiful in anything it wears, Rita thought, watching Heather calmly. This is not a ball, this is a place of work. Understand? Heather said, her tone a bit high. The other officers glanced at them. So she is the type to act self-assured, then loudly condemn other women. I swear her sort is inescapable, Rita thought inwardly. Oh dear, does my attire somehow violate the dress code? If you could elaborate, I'll be sure to address it in the future, Rita said softly, tilting her head slightly. Your clothes positively cling to your body. The daughter of a noble family should be virtuous. This sort of frivolity is unacceptable, Heather rebuked, pointing at her. But I had this made at the boutique that specializes in officer uniforms. Strange, if they were made by the same boutique, why is there such a difference between mine and yours? Rita asked Heather. The officers watched them, causing Heather to flush with embarrassment. So you're claiming you had no intention to flaunt? Earrings, a bracelet, even a ring. It's obvious you are only here to peacock around. Heather accused. I do not recall the dress code prohibiting jewelry, Rita said calmly. Pardon me, but both that officer and that officer are currently wearing jewelry, she added, pointing at two other female officers. Does this rule perhaps only apply to me? She questioned, turning red as she placed her hand against her chest. Now it just seems as if I envy her, Heather thought, gritting her teeth in frustration. Those officers have never caused any commotion, but you, Miss Werther, have been the cause of continuous disturbance within our office, she said, clenching her fist. So that's how she is justifying herself, Rita thought. Officer Heather, could you please lower your voice? Like you said, I'd hate to continue disturbing the other officers, Rita said, sniffing her nose as she appeared to fake sadness. Huh? What did you just? Heather was about to shout before being interrupted by other officers. She's right, Heather. Could you please quiet down? Said one officer. I have to complete this analysis of the provisional draft budget by the end of the day. Why raise your voice over nothing? Another officer added. Ooh, scary Officer Heather, they murmured. Heather's face flushed with embarrassment as she realized the attention she had drawn. Rita maintained her calm demeanor, inwardly satisfied with the turn of events. Ugh, the more I push, the more this will backfire, Heather thought, holding her head in confusion. Since it is your first day, I will let this go for now, but be more careful in the future, she told Rita with a sigh. Yes, officer, Rita said, bowing before stepping away from her presence. Just you wait and see, Rita thought, observing Heather with her side eyes as she walked away. After a while in the administrative office, Julie Shade walked gently, making her way to Rita's office. Unlike me, a brilliant employee of the military, those saps in administration are more fragile things that wrestle with paperwork, she said to herself, walking with pride. She saw Heather coming out of the office. Excuse me, I'm here to see my good friend Werther Albehart. Is she here? Julie asked, causing Heather to flinch. Who knows? Please see to your own personal business yourself, Heather said, turning her head away. She walked away rudely from Julie. What? What a rude woman, Julie thought, watching in awe. If you're here to see Miss Werther, I'm afraid you just missed her, an officer said to her. She left to meet with someone else not too long ago. Pardon? Julie questioned. You didn't know? She left to meet with your elder brother, Sir Blaine of the Treasury Department. Julie's eyes opened wide. What? She exclaimed. Meanwhile, Blaine Shade and Rita walked hand in hand somewhere outside the administrative building. How did you know it was my first day at work? Rita asked him gently as they walked. A rumor about a beautiful aide in the administrative office has had the entire place in an uproar all day. How could I not know? Blaine told her with a smile. Rita thought, glancing at him sweetly. So now that you've seen this beautiful aide for yourself, what do you think? Do I satisfy the expectations of a finance officer? Rita said, posing for him. He laughed lightly. You exceed them, Miss Werther. So, how is your first day going? Blaine asked her. With Proud Carter being away on extended business, I came here intending to seduce Nathan, but he's nowhere to be seen. Then some chihuahua of a woman picked a fight with me, she thought, her mood changing. If I am honest, it's been terrible. Are you familiar with Officer Heather? She is a third-degree administrator, Rita asked Blaine. Heather Maximilian? Baron Maximilian's wife? Dark blue hair and short? He said, describing her. She's married? So a man smart enough to marry her, she thought. Well, she said aloud, she told me the way I dressed disgraces the sanctity of the royal palace. What do you think? She asked, showing off some more. I think it's a relief you weren't hired as an assistant for the Ministry of Finance. Your presence would have driven all the officers mad. Thankfully, our deadlines were spared of such misfortune, Blaine said with a smile. You have such a way with words. Your tongue drips both honey and poison, Rita says giggling. Blaine holds her hand, gently fiddling with her fingers, squeezing them lightly. Heather Maximilian's story is a sorry one, unlike other aristocrats who work in the palace for fame and power. She works because she needs to pay, he tells her. All that sanctimonious pump, yet her own family penniless? Rita thought inwardly. This wasn't always the case, Blaine says as they resume their walk. Her father was quite a respectable count, but she fell for the wrong man and ended up in her present situation, he informs her. How unfortunate. So Heather's parents don't provide any support for their poor daughter then, I presume, Rita asks sounding worried. Despite their opposition, they both doggedly insisted on marriage, he told her, observing intently. Rita thought to herself, oh dear, poor Heather, wearing a smirk as Blaine glanced at her. He halted their movement and placed his hand on her shoulder, leaning forward to whisper in her ear. Heather's husband, Baron Maximilian, runs a small jewelry shop in the capital city. For them, even modest sales are an important source of income, he said, catching Rita's attention. Is that so? They make such little money as it is. It would be a pity if someone were to get in the way of their business, she said with a grin, looking at Blaine's face delightedly. Rita hugged him excitedly, thinking, I feel so much better. Blaine thought to himself, how amusing. He smiled softly, adding inwardly, I've never met a woman as interesting as her. Back in the administrative building, Rita was in Officer Assyrian's office. It's a pleasure to meet you, Werther. My name is Assyrian, the man said, introducing himself. I look forward to working together. Officer Assyrian, Rita said, bowing politely. I've heard quite a lot about you from Felicia, Rita said, glancing at Assyrian, causing him to smile softly. Assyrian, a level 1 officer, held a high rank, and Rita thought he would be an invaluable support. I should have been here for your first day, but unfortunately, there was urgent business outside the office. Have you gotten acquainted with the other officers? He asked, still smiling. Yes, I've met everyone who was working within the office, Rita thought cheerfully. Thanks to Heather's outburst this morning, every officer in the building jumped at their chance to offer support as well as an introduction, she thought, still smiling at Assyrian. I'm glad to hear it. Then I suppose Officer Nathan is the only one left. He accompanied me outside the office yesterday, Assyrian told her as she watched him quietly. Nathan, a moment please, he called out. Nathan Hector stepped up, walking gently towards Assyrian's table. Rita fixed her gaze on him as he approached. Finally, that damned Nathan Hector, she thought, glaring at him. This is Nathan Hector, a level 2 official. And this is Miss Verta. From now on, she will be my assistant. It's her first day, so why don't you show her the ropes? Assyrian said, introducing them to each other. Nathan Hector, he said, introducing himself, facing Rita with a calm look. Verta Albahart, she said, introducing herself. It's only my first day, so I still have much to learn, but I promise to work hard. I look forward to your instruction, she said with a smile. Nathan Hector was taken aback a bit by her demeanor. Indeed, welcome to the administrative division, he said to her. Her appearance is frail. I expected her to be shy, he thought inwardly, his gaze fixed on Rita. He's taken aback. I've left an impression, Rita thought, her gaze still fixed on him. Rita observed Nathan Hector's hand and noticed he wore the rosary she had given Rosalie as a gift. She was taken aback as she remembered giving Rosalie the matching rosaries, promising that the couples who wear each half would share a long and happy love. This memory caused Rosalie to hug Rita in appreciation. Rita smirked, impressed with Rosalie Amber's ability to convince her fiancé to wear the rosary. She wondered if Rosalie had mentioned that she was the one who had given it to him. Glancing at him, she couldn't discern much from his flat response. It's fine. No need to rush. Trying too hard to make a memorable first impression could backfire, she thought to herself, staying calm. A few days later, Rita's carriage moved slowly across the grasslands. Yersha, arms folded, questioned Rita about their destination. We're going shopping first, Rita replied with a smile. After that, I have some personal business to attend to. It's still uncertain, so I won't mention it just yet, she thought to herself. Looking out of the carriage window, Rita smiled at her reflection, reminiscing about meeting Proud Carter that day after court. Proud Carter, eliminating Jean Lawrence was just the beginning. Wait until I'm done with all of your people. I swear I'll make you kneel at my feet, she vowed inwardly. Ah, it's the perfect day for backstabbing, she thought, wearing a sly grin as the carriage continued on its way. She's thinking about destroying someone else again? Judging from her expression, they must have gravely offended her, Yersha thought, observing Rita's demeanor as they traveled in the carriage. He looked out the window, watching the streets pass by. It's already been 5 years since I first arrived here, Yersha thought with a touch of sadness, reminiscing about his home country. It is a wealthy place compared to my own homeland. Yet why do I still yearn for it so deeply? He thought. His gaze remained fixed outside the carriage's window. Rita observed Yersha calmly, finding him to have a beautiful profile. Who could imagine that this Yersha is actually a fearsome sorcerer from a faraway land? She wondered to herself. Yersha soon realized Rita was watching him. Why do you look at me like that? He questioned, his hand folding, making her tense. You noticed? My apologies, Rita said, looking tense herself. So, why did you assassinate Tatum's Sultan's mistress? Rita asked Yersha abruptly. Yersha hesitated for a moment, then replied, it's a bit late to ask. Oh, don't be like that. Tell me. I've told you my whole story, but you've never shared anything with me, Rita said, smiling cheerfully, teasing Yersha. Can we really call ourselves partners? She asked him. Yersha turned his head away, fixing his gaze back to the city outside the window. Rita didn't say another word to him. She raised her hand, revealing a ring she wore. Yen, you don't have to tell me now. If it's too difficult for you, some wounds will always ache no matter how much time has passed, Rita told him calmly. Yersha sighed inwardly, thinking, so she's decided to pin me as some weak sap who's wrestling with his past. When I first met you, do you know what the meaning of my introduction was? Yersha asked her. Rita quickly remembered their first encounter, where Yersha had told her his name, which meant second flame born from the desert's most brilliant sands. What sort of Tatum riddle is this? I told you everything, and this is how you repay me? Rita thought, wearing a straight look. The carriage came to a halt, and John knocked gently at the window. We've arrived, my lady, he said. Yersha got up, but Rita did not move. They say we've arrived, my lady, Yersha informed her. He walked towards the carriage's door and offered his hand to Rita. Shall we go, Miss Verta? Yersha asked, observing Rita closely. They arrived at a jewelry store, and Rita walked in as Yersha welcomed her. She held a hand fan to hide her face. "Welcome, Lady Albehart," an attendant named Louise said with a bow. "My name is Louise. I'm the shopkeeper here at Zucard. I'm honored you have chosen to visit our humble shop." Louise fixed his gaze at Rita, observing her appearance. Pearl earrings and a sapphire ring. Even with one glance, it's obvious how expensive they are, he thought to himself. Others are normally dazzled by my beauty, but this man assesses my jewelry first. Good, it seems he has an inclination for business, Rita thought inwardly as Louise took her hand and led her further into the shop. Louise proceeded to show Rita their jewelry collections. Not bad, but not great. It's just the right place to go against a mid-level family like the Maximilians, she thought. Louise glanced at her and could sense her dissatisfaction. I hate to admit it, but she is a class above our typical clientele. What in the world brings such a noble guest here? Louise wondered silently. What may I help you with today, my lady? Perhaps jewelry for an outing or a tea party, perhaps. Just say the word, Louise said to Rita, smiling as he led her through the store. Jewelry is not what I seek. What I seek are the rights to this shop, Rita said, uncovering her face and closing her fan. Louise was stunned by Rita's words. He composed himself and offered Rita tea as they sat down to discuss her business proposal. So she's offering to provide the necessary capital for the shop in exchange for ownership of the rights. It is a formidable offer indeed, but if I were to accept this proposal, it would mean becoming an enemy of the Maximilians. Is that what I want? Louise thought, trembling a bit as he fixed his gaze at Rita. To start, I'll invest 500,000 gold coins and 200 grand every year thereafter, Rita said, shocking Louise. With this much support, I could make Zucard a luxury shop in no time at all. But then again, nothing in this world is free, Louise thought, clenching his fist on his knee. What is her motive? He pondered. I heard that your shop recently purchased a large quantity of scarlet spinels, though the quality may be lesser than that of rubies. Spinels are a lovely option for autumn, which is soon arriving, Rita said. I see. Thank you very much for the tip, Louise replied, grateful for the advice. For Zucard's new autumn selection, what do you think about the red fire opal? Rita inquired further. The opal is a level above the spinel, but the price is cheaper, Rita instructed him. I beg your pardon, but the fire opal is worth more than the spinel. If we sell the opal for less, the more we sell, the greater the losses we'll suffer, Louise said, looking terrified at Rita's proposal. You can deduct those losses from the 500 grand I will invest, she said excitedly. Everything she says is just another shock. Even family would find such an offer difficult to make, Louise thought, sweating a bit, unable to say anything to her. Rita picked up her teacup. It's quite a lot of money just to outmaneuver Heather. But it'll take this much to give those parents of mine a great fight and finally have them come running from Tatum, she thought excitedly. I'm flattered by your generous offer. But I'm afraid I do not understand why in the world would you go to such lengths, Louise exclaimed with a tensed look. Rita fixed her gaze closely at him. Are you aware of Heather Maximilian's background? She asked him calmly. Louise nodded gently, signaling he was aware. Recently, I became colleagues with her at the palace's administrative division, where I chanced upon a shocking truth, she told him, her face looking serious. What truth? The jeweler questioned, clenching his fist hard as he leaned forward, his ears itching to hear what she had learned about the Maximilians. Rita glanced at him before fixing her look more seriously. What I tell you from this moment on must remain secret. You must swear not to breathe a word of this to anyone, she warned him sternly. Of course, Lady Werther. A mere businessman like me, who would I tell? He assured her, seriousness in his tone as he boldly pledged secrecy. Rita knew that Louise was right. High-class or noble clientele would typically avoid purchasing jewels from a shop like his. That's exactly why her bold scheme would become possible. As you know, the Maximilians are not a particularly wealthy family. Parts of a budget Lady Maximilian had reviewed failed to hold up, and just when I thought that was odd, Rita began, placing her teacup back on the saucer. I found that the Maximilian shop had purchased a large amount of spinels, Rita revealed, causing Louise to gasp in shock, his facial expression reflecting disbelief. I knew something was strange. How else would they have purchased that many spinels out of nowhere? Louise said, his anger evident. He gritted his teeth, visibly upset, but then calmed himself down with a sigh of relief. To think she would stoop to embezzlement. If it wasn't for you, my lady, I would have been none the wiser, he told her gratefully. Normally, Rita would have told him that she wanted to report Lady Maximilian to the aristocratic courts, but she couldn't bring herself to do something so harsh. You see, she's been an extremely kind mentor, Rita calmly informed Louise, her thoughts drifting back to her first encounter with Heather Maximilian in the administrative division. She recalled Heather's rude remark about her dressing style and how Heather seemed to be overly trying to be kind. She was practically tripping over herself in her efforts to be so kind. She should have just let sleeping dogs lie, Rita thought, wearing a smirk as she observed Louise's reaction. If the Maximilian jewelry shop were to go out of business, Heather could finally return to being an upstanding administrator for our kingdom. I believe she can become a lady of integrity once more, Rita told Louise, her smile soft and genuine. My word, you are a true lady, Lady Verta. You have a heart of gold, Louise responded, looking flushed with admiration. Rita couldn't help but wear a cheerful smile. Her plans were now set in motion. After concluding her meeting with Louise, Rita stepped out of the jewelry shop into the rain. Things were unfolding in her favor. Yersha held an umbrella over her head, shielding her from the downpour. Suddenly, she remembered something, causing her face to flinch slightly. Yen, it's such a beautiful day. Shall we take a walk? It'd be a shame to return home so early, she said to Yersha with a smile. They ventured out into the rainy streets, walking gently until they stopped at a particular spot. How long must we wait here? Yersha asked, appearing tired. 5 more minutes, she replied, her arms folded. She couldn't afford to miss this opportunity. Perhaps I should simply leave her here, Yersha thought, sighing inwardly. Suddenly, someone caught Rita's eye. He's here, she thought. A man, covered in a cloak and walking in the rain, strolled through the streets. It was Nathan Hector, the person she had been waiting for. Rita abruptly pulls Yersha into a nearby street, leaving them both exposed to the rain. She swiftly removes one of her shoes and hurls it against the wall, breaking its heel. What are you doing? Yersha asks, visibly tense and startled by Rita's sudden actions. Yen. Hand me the umbrella. Now, make yourself scarce over there, hurry, Rita commands, pushing Yersha away despite her shock. Yersha wonders anxiously about Rita's intentions as she obeys her instructions. Rita proceeds to destroy her umbrella, cementing her plan. Find me some shoes to wear and return for me in 30 minutes' time, understand? Rita says cheerfully to Yersha, outlining her request clearly before sending her off on the task. Nathan Hector walked briskly through the street as Rita deliberately ran towards him, colliding as if by accident. She cried out in pain, feigning surprise at encountering him. Miss Verta? Nathan Hector said, clearly perplexed by the encounter. Officer Nathan. What a coincidence, Rita exclaimed, pretending to be shocked. Nathan Hector looked at her with concern, noticing her soaked state. Where is your umbrella? Here, wear this, he said gently, removing his cloak and draping it over her shoulders. What are you doing here alone? You're completely soaked, he asked, worried. Just about 5 minutes ago, I accidentally broke my umbrella, Rita explained, frustrated as she crumpled her broken umbrella in her hand. Shall we get out of this rain? Nathan Hector suggested, guiding her towards shelter. They stood in front of a building. Where have all your servants gotten to? He asked softly. Rita quickly concocted a story, telling him she had come to the area to pick up an order, but the road was too narrow for her carriage. She and her butler had no choice but to walk, and then her shoe's heel broke suddenly. It's not like I could have climbed onto my butler's back, so he gave me the umbrella to wait while he fetched my shoes from the carriage. But then, Rita started, trying to shake water off her wet dress. Then your umbrella broke, correct? Nathan Hector interrupted, finishing her sentence, his expression cold as he avoided eye contact. Oh my, it's like you were there, officer. Perhaps you were the one who broke my umbrella? Rita said playfully, giggling to herself, which made him glance at her. Rita adjusted her hair, revealing her ears, noticing Nathan Hector staring at her earring with a tense expression. Lo and behold, so this is what arouses him, she thought, wearing a grin as her plan began to take shape. Rita recalled her days working in the tavern in her true form, where she often encountered men like Nathan Hector. Men who had preferences beyond breasts and hips. But she wasn't going to jump to conclusions just yet. She needed to be sure her observations were correct. The downpour has soaked my hair completely, Rita said, looking flushed as she readjusted her hair, deliberately exposing her neck more prominently for him to see. Nathan Hector couldn't help but glance at her neck, his face reddening. Just as I expected, Rita thought, pleased that her theory was proving true. Pretending not to notice his glances, Rita suddenly caught his eye, causing him to gasp in surprise. Nathan Hector quickly averted his gaze, pretending not to have been looking at her. The rain continued to fall gently around them as Rita and Nathan Hector stood in silence. Anyone might think you're in a foul mood, Rita thought to herself, observing his aloof demeanor. How predictable. Rita knew men like Nathan Hector often sought obedience rather than love from women. If they couldn't be the hero, they found ways to manipulate and control. To think such a man depends on his fiancée's power, she mused, imagining Rosalie's potential suffering. She noticed he was still wearing the rosary she had given Rosalie. He's still wearing it, very good. The longer he does, the stronger the effects, she thought, a faint smile crossing her lips. Pardon me, Rita said calmly, adopting a charming expression. What's the matter, Lady Verta? Nathan Hector asked, turning his gaze to her. I'm afraid I didn't properly thank you earlier. You see, this is my first time being stranded on the streets like this, and I must admit, I was quite frightened. My shoe broke, my umbrella was destroyed, and then, like a miracle, you appeared before me. Thank you for your help, Officer Nathan. If it hadn't been for you, Rita said with a grateful smile. All I did was offer you a raincoat, Nathan Hector replied, perplexed by her excessive gratitude. Yet the daughter of a count treats me so kindly, even though I am just a baron. Verta, Nathan Hector began to say, but was interrupted by Yersha's sudden arrival. Miss Verta. I apologize for the delay, Yersha exclaimed, hurrying over with an umbrella in hand. He knelt down to remove Rita's damaged shoe, discreetly assessing Nathan Hector as he did so. As Yersha changed Rita's shoe, she couldn't help but think, this man is an administrator? He looks more like the sword-wielding type. He's even more intimidating in person. I quite fancy an angular face, he thought. Once Rita stood properly in her new shoe, she suggested, my carriage isn't far. What do you say, Officer Nathan? You were my rescuer today. Care to ride together? Nathan Hector declined politely, saying, I'm afraid I have other matters to attend to. Please accept my thanks instead. I shall take my leave now, he said before calmly walking away, leaving Rita feeling satisfied. She smirked to herself, thinking, I suppose this was only the first taste. If he had fallen for it immediately, it wouldn't be any fun. The following day at the Albahart Manor, Rita stayed indoors. She had caught a cold from being out in the rain during her encounter with Nathan Hector the previous day. Rita sneezed loudly, realizing she had caught a cold. Still, being sick as a noble isn't too bad, she thought, pleased that she could rest as long as she liked. She reclined in her favorite chair in the parlor, indulging in chocolates placed on a nearby table. Miss, is there anything else you require? Jana asked, looking happy yet slightly saddened by the thought of Rita's new butler taking up more of her time. Nope. Oh, on your way out, would you mind calling Yen for me? Rita requested. The butler, of course, miss, Jana replied calmly, her sadness hidden within. Miss Verta seems to have taken a strong liking to the new butler indeed, but now, thanks to him, I barely get to see her. Miss, I thought that was your favorite, Jana mused inwardly as she left to fetch Yen. It's been a long time since I've been able to rest like this. I feel so calm, Rita muttered to herself, adjusting herself in the chair as she prepared to relax. Soon after, Yersha knocked on the door. Rita welcomed Yersha into the room and gestured for him to come closer. Yersha, looking slightly puzzled, approached her as she offered him chocolates. Would you like some? Rita asked, referring to the Tatum-style date palm chocolates she was enjoying. It's my first time trying them, and they're quite delicious, she tells him. Yersha, now calmer, sat down and accepted the offer. Rita noticed he seemed a bit parched and promptly poured him a cup of tea. As Yersha settled, Rita sat up, indicating her interest. "What is it you want?" Yersha asked calmly. "I'm simply curious about your past, and since it's raining and I won't be going out, I'd like to hear your story," Rita explained. "If our plan is successful, we'll be restoring you to Tatum. At the very least, I should understand your relationship with the place. We aren't undertaking this operation to return you as a wanted man, after all. So, tell me." "I've shared all my secrets with you," Rita added calmly. Yersha visibly relaxed and sighed before beginning his tale. "As I told you when we first met, my name means second flame born from the desert's most brilliant sands. It means that I'm the Sultan's second child," he started, his expression serious as he opened up to Rita. Rita was visibly shocked by Yersha's revelation. "What? So this entire time I've been having a Prince of Tatum iron my delicates?" she exclaimed incredulously. Yersha corrected her with a serious look. "Correction, I have never ironed your delicates. And strictly speaking, I was never a prince. I was a princess." "A princess?" Rita repeated, her hand over her mouth in surprise. Come to think of it, that poster. Her mind raced back to her days working at the tavern in her true body. She vividly remembered tearing down Yersha's wanted poster from the wall and using it to wipe her face. But why does it say he's a woman? She had wondered when she read it then. "Yen, you are a woman?" Rita asked Yersha softly, trying to process the information. "No, of course not," Yersha quickly clarified before beginning her tale. "The Sultan of Tatum had one wife and several concubines. My mother was a concubine with little power. So, I had no choice but to grow up hiding my true gender. So that's why the imposter described him as a woman. I thought an official had mistranslated," Rita thought aloud, still trying to comprehend everything she had just heard. Yersha's story unfolded with a mix of sorrow and anger. "Even though my mother and I hid the truth, the Sultan's wife, Niger, threatened to kill us almost daily," she recounted to Rita. Sultan Ganihi, her father, was a classic desert warrior. He had little interest in his daughter, but he was a good companion to my mother. While the Sultan favored his wife the most, he also showed some affection to my mother." Yersha paused, her anger palpable. Yet, it would have been better to receive no favor at all. Receiving even the lukewarm affections of a powerful man is a double-edged sword. She continued with a grim expression. "The envious wife, Niger, ultimately murdered my mother in a fit of jealousy. In revenge, I used sorcery illegally and killed her. The Sultan was furious. How could a mere girl kill his wife? Eventually, I escaped his bounty hunters and came to Osland." "I see," Rita responded, absorbing the weight of Yersha's revelations. "But Yen, how long have you been capable of sorcery? Were you born with these abilities?" she asked, her curiosity evident. "Yes," Yersha explained, her hands folded thoughtfully. "Direct descendants of the Sultan's line occasionally display natural abilities. However, these powers are usually limited, enough to light a cigar or cause small misfortunes upon someone they dislike." Rita found it perplexing. "Strange, but your magic is strong enough to kill a person?" she asked Yersha, contemplating the extent of her abilities. "That is because I was born extraordinary," Yersha explained simply. Yes. "It must be nice to be born powerful," Rita concluded, reflecting on the implications of innate abilities. Changing the subject, Rita immediately inquired about Ian, her butler who had been sent on official duties to Tatum. "Judging from the condition of the cursed glass, it doesn't seem like he's wandered off the path. Most likely, he will reach Tatum within this week. Letters need time to be transported. We must be patient," Yersha reassured her. Rita relaxed a bit and laid down on the sofa, letting out a sigh. "In the event the issue with my parents is still unresolved by the time you are to return to Tatum, you must promise to help me, won't you?" Rita asked earnestly. "We shall see," Yersha replied, her tone non-committal. The next day at the administrative division, Rita made a striking entrance. As she walked into the office, dressed in a slightly revealing outfit that deviated from the usual uniform, murmurs and stares followed her. "Good morning," she greeted everyone with a smile. Assyrian, greeting her with a tense look, spoke up first. Miss Werther. Heather Maximilian slammed her desk in anger and stood up abruptly. Miss Werther, are you in your right mind? Did you forget our last conversation? Her tone was sharp and accusing. This is a professional workplace. How dare you dress so indecently? Do you believe yourself so special that you are somehow above the dress code? Rita calmly surveyed the room, noticing Nathan Hector was absent from his desk. It appears Nathan isn't here. Time to deliver my response, she thought to herself. Officer Heather, I have never violated the dress code. I reviewed the policy, which allows attire as long as it doesn't excessively expose bare skin, Rita countered evenly. Do you take me for a fool? What do you call this, then? Heather pointed angrily at Rita's dress. Would you claim these are not skin, but bones? She asked Rita. It's lace, officer. I'm not directly exposing skin directly, Rita explained calmly, maintaining her composure. Heather clenched her fists in frustration. What game are you playing? Do you find it laughable to be told to follow dress code? Is this palace some sort of joke to you? Heather barked angrily. Please, Officer Heather, see for yourself, Rita said with a smile, offering the documents she held in her hand. Heather grabbed them, reading the heading which shocked her, Certificate of Confirmation regarding adherence to workplace dress standards, petitioned by Werther Albehart. Processed by the Ministry of Justice. Approved by Royal Justice Van Brandt. Heather Maximilian stared at the document in disbelief, her expression filled with fear. Rita wore a faint smile, knowing her plan had struck the mark. What Heather didn't know was that an hour earlier, Rita had orchestrated this move. In Prince Van Brandt's office, he pondered over Rita's words. She had mentioned heading to work at the administrative division. His thoughts wandered back to their last encounter at the Albehart Manor, recalling her concern and their close proximity. He blushed, remembering her request to call her Ver. Of course, that woman isn't here out of boredom. I'm aware she only volunteered to work for the administrative division in order to uncover Marquis Carter's weaknesses, he thought, shaking his head slightly. Prince Van Brandt wasn't going to get in her way. Suddenly, a knock came from his door. Your Highness, may I come in? Rita asked as she knocked. They soon sat facing each other. Your Highness, could I trouble you for a certificate that affirms I abide by the dress code? Rita said with a smile. Issuing a certificate is not a difficult task. However, may I inquire as to the reason you are in need of one, Lady Werther? He asked calmly. Please call me Ver, as I believe I asked you before, Rita replied, walking closer to where he was seated. My superior has been causing a ruckus, insisting that the way I dress violates workplace standards. I fear she might try to chase me out of the administrative division before long, she explained calmly. Regarding the dress code, that shouldn't be an issue, and according to palace bylaws, an officer cannot dismiss an assistant at their own discretion. So you have nothing to fear, Prince Brandt informed her. Is that so? Still, I'm curious, how much does the dress code allow exactly? Rita said, gently unbuttoning her dress. For example, if I were to do this. Is this much allowed? She asked Prince Brandt. He was taken aback, unable to utter a word, his face flushing as he watched her. Rita giggled slightly, pleased with herself. She exposed a bit more cleavage, leaning towards him. How about this much? Is this still acceptable? She questioned him. Prince Van Brandt blushed instantly, his face turning red. He quickly sprang up from his seat, stunning Rita. Please do not make such inappropriate jests. A noblewoman such as yourself should not be so carelessly flirting with a man, he told her, despite his unease. Rita leaned forward, causing him to press against a bookshelf, her hands preventing him from moving. He stared at her, still flushed with embarrassment. And if it is not a jest? She asked him. Prince Van Brandt couldn't help but steal another glance at her cleavage. He placed his hand against his head, visibly conflicted. Rita kept watching him keenly, intrigued by his inner struggle. To watch such an austere man be so torn in the face of temptation. This couldn't possibly be any sexier, she thought inwardly, observing his reaction. Prince Brandt gently took her hand and turned her against the bookshelf. Rita was stunned, unsure how to react. He looked at her with soft eyes. Is he going to kiss me? Rita wondered as Prince Brandt leaned closer. Instead, he gently bumped his head against hers, his eyes closed, still blushing. Miss Werther, tempting a man's limits is a dreadful pastime, he whispered to her despite his vulnerable state, before calmly walking away. Rita watched him go. Just as well. A man like him would have followed any kiss with a marriage proposal purely out of a sense of duty, she thought, acknowledging the complications it would bring to her plans to seduce Nathan Hector. But still, it'd be nice to kiss him just once, she mused to herself. Your Honor, will you still issue a certificate for me? Rita asked, quickening her pace to catch up with Prince Brandt. For good measure, I went and inquired at the Ministry of Justice this morning. I wanted to be absolutely clear on the matter to avoid any further misunderstandings. Moved by my diligent efforts to uphold workplace standards, Royal Justice Prince Van Brandt signed the documents himself, Rita said, smiling confidently. Not only had she taken the matter to the Ministry of Justice, but the Royal Justice himself had approved her certificate. Is she insane? Heather thought angrily. She gripped the document tightly, her frustration evident. I shall continue to observe you. I expect you to behave yourself. Am I clear? She demanded, before turning and walking away from Rita. Rita remained composed, watching Heather leave. She smiled to herself. Will you still be so confident when your jewelry shop has been run into the ground? Let's just wait and see, Heather Maximilian, Rita thought to herself, a hint of malice in her thoughts as she contemplated the future. Everyone watched Rita in shock, feeling tense and somewhat sympathetic towards her situation. I'm sorry for causing a disturbance, she apologized as she walked gently towards her desk. At this rate, she might quit because of Heather. Such a beautiful and hard-working woman, how terrible, muttered one officer. She dresses beautifully. Heather is just nitpicking for no reason, whispered another. Rita wore a grin of satisfaction as she overheard their side conversations. A few days later, Nathan Hector returned from an assignment to the administrative division. As he passed a corridor, he heard Heather's voice. Who told you to leave your post? Although you might look down on me, there are rules and responsibilities, Heather Maximilian rebuked someone sternly. That voice sounds like Heather's, Nathan Hector thought to himself as he quickly hid near the hallway, eavesdropping on their conversation. Why is she causing a scene in someone else's hallway? Nathan wondered as he listened closely to Heather's words. What on earth was the Amber family thinking when they recommended you? Heather's voice cut through the corridor, causing Nathan to flinch. He discreetly peered around the corner, trying to discern who Heather was addressing. Someone hired on the Amber family's recommendation? Nathan thought, puzzled. His eyes settled on Rita standing still, her demeanor reflecting sadness. Miss Werther? Nathan nearly uttered aloud, surprised to realize she was the subject of Heather Maximilian's criticism. As he looked at the rosary hanging from his neck, a gift from Rosalie Amber, memories flashed back. My dear friend gave it to me. She knew I was worried about you, Rosalie had explained, showing Nathan Rita's thoughtful gift. Nathan turned away, feigning indifference, though his mind raced with new questions and concerns. She said it's a charm that gives you good health and luck in all your endeavors, Rosalie told him with a smile. Nathan glanced at her with a cool expression before taking the rosary. It's not bad, he told her, considering the gift. She said it was a gift from a dear friend. It seems that friend is Miss Werther, Nathan reasoned quietly, still observing Rita. Be careful in the future, understand? Heather said sharply to Rita. Yes, my sincere apologies, officer, Rita replied, keeping her head slightly bowed. The same constant nagging, she isn't like this to anyone else. Why me? Rita thought inwardly, her frustration barely contained. Heather scrutinized Rita closely, aware of the tension. She has a way of rubbing a person the wrong way. Just like that Felicia woman, Heather muttered. Unbeknownst to others, Heather harbored a deep grudge against Felicia Carter. She had once admired Marquis Amber, Felicia Carter's husband. Marquis Amber, he's so handsome, Heather thought to herself, feeling a flush of admiration as she watched him from a distance. Suddenly, Heather noticed Marquis Amber waiting with his hand outstretched, and a lady approached him and placed her hand in his. It was Felicia Carter. Felicia Carter. Heather seethed inwardly, clenching her teeth in anger. If only it weren't for their arranged marriage, I never would have had to marry my utter loser of a husband, Heather fumed, her gaze fixed at Rita. You can blame Felicia for recommending the likes of you, Heather thought bitterly, her resentment palpable. Despite her anger, Heather continued her scolding. Lately, your behavior has been intolerable. And your husband's jewelry shop must not be doing well. It seems Lewis is succeeding in his sabotage, Rita thought smugly, pleased with her plans unfolding. As a new hire, you should dress more decently and fix that attitude. Show some respect to your superiors, Heather rebuked Rita rudely. Yes, keep berating me. It only makes me appear even more pitiful, Rita thought to herself, feigning sadness at Heather's remarks. In the midst of this, Rita caught sight of Nathan Hector discreetly eavesdropping on their conversation. Rita couldn't help but smile inwardly. As always, if something is meant to work out, it will. Watch closely, Nathan, she thought to herself, her gaze fixed in his direction as she quickly devised a plan. Officer, I'm so sorry my incompetence is making things so difficult for you. I will try harder in the future. I only ask for your generous understanding, Rita said with feigned sadness, ensuring her voice carried so Nathan could hear. She knew he was observing the situation closely. Heather nodded sternly. Do better, Miss Werther. I'll be paying close attention tomorrow as well, she stated before walking away, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Nathan emerged from his hiding spot, pretending not to have overheard the conversation as Heather passed by. Hello, he said, greeting Rita. Officer Nathan, Rita greeted him warmly. You must be returning from an errand. I'm sure you must be tired. Please rest? She offered with a smile, despite having just been harassed and insulted moments ago. Nathan was taken aback. How could she be so cheery after such an encounter? He wondered, placing a comforting hand on Rita's shoulder. It's always difficult in the beginning. You are doing well, Miss Werther, he reassured her, trying to lift her spirits. Rita remained silent, watching him quietly. Sure, it was the performance of a lifetime, but it didn't really merit this much of a reaction, she thought to herself, pleased with the success of her plan. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.